Hello, today's video is going to be on how we are homeschooling in a new country next year. So if you enjoy this type of content and other homeschool and lifestyle content, please remember to subscribe and let's talk about it. All right, so are you ready for the story of how we are gonna be homeschooling in a different country next year? It has been a lot and very overwhelming. It all started last summer. And so I have mentioned before that my husband is a professor, and basically every 7th year they can go on a sabbatical where they basically take the year off. It's usually still something kind of related to their job. Either with research, they might write a book, they might focus more like on YouTube or blogging or stuff like that. And they might stay where the university is that they work, or they might go someplace else and they search for funding and other opportunities to do that. And so I think technically he could have taken it last year, like this current year that we're in, this academic year, whatever you want to call it. But it would have been harder for the university with his teaching load. And so he is doing it in the fall. So he came up to me last summer and he's like, what would you think about taking a sabbatical? Which he had floated the idea around, but it was really like just not even on my mind at all. And he's like, what would you think about doing it in a different country? And I just recently put out a video about how I like routine. I like things to be predictable. I am not a super spontaneous person, none of those types of things. But I do thrive on going to other countries, not necessarily on vacation. A lot of the times I've gone to other countries and lived in other countries have been either for humanitarian or teaching English type things, or following my husband for a conference or whatever. So it's more experiencing the culture and people in kind of obscure places, not in your touristy areas that you generally think about. And I really flourish in those areas. Like when I have gone on those types of trips, I really, really enjoy them. But the biggest ones that I have done were before I was married and before I had kids. And so doing all these things, having to worry about it all ourselves, was kind of overwhelming, and taking all of my kids to another country is also equally overwhelming. And so I was like, okay, let's do it, but inside I was kind of like, so, sorry, clear my throat out here. So he applied for a government-funded fellowship, scholarship, I don't know exactly what you'd call it. And they go to several different countries. He applied for one specifically and went through, so the application was due in September. So we turned in the application in September, and then it was just a waiting game. So it's been very stressful, 9-10 months, whatever it's been, because it's just our next school year has just been so uncertain, and it's been very, very hard. So in December, my husband found out he was a semi-finalist for this program for the country he'd applied to, which was the Dominican Republic. But that's not where we're going. The story does not end there. And so he found out he was a semi-finalist for it. The way the program works is that your application is sent to, for him, economists in the United States, because his field is economics. They pick who they want as semi-finalists, out of the applicants. So there's a few, and those ones get sent to the country. So in this one, his were sent to the Dominican Republic, to the embassy there, and then they review the applicants in the DR and decide who they want to have come to their country. So the DR had 2 positions open. And so in December, we found out we passed the first step, and he was going on to the next one. And so that was exciting to hear and to know. And then January through now happened. The government has been a little bit kind of crazy since January. There's been a lot of things going on, and a lot of things with international funding. And a big part of this program, especially for the DR, is funded by the US government. And so then we didn't know if we were going to get funded or not. If he was chosen by the DR, would we get funded? We didn't know. And so there was just a lot of uncertainty going on the last, like, what, 3 months, 2.5 months have just been kind of like, is this even gonna happen? And I started just like, oh, we're just gonna be here like in the fall, because there's no way this is gonna work out. It's just gonna be it's just gonna be too hard. It's not gonna happen. And I don't wanna go and then not have funding once we're in the country, because that has happened to some people that are on this grant basically right now, is that they had no money for a while, and then it would start to come back, and then they'd have no money, you know? So I'm like, I don't wanna be there with all of my family and not have funding. And so my husband started looking for other options, and I don't know how seriously he was looking for other options, but he started putting some feelers out and being like, okay, it doesn't look like my sabbatical is gonna work out. Do you guys know any other options or programs or things like that? So one of the reasons we need funding to go is because for a sabbatical, if we take both semesters off for the year, then he gets 80% of his salary. If he only leaves for one semester, he gets 100% of his salary. And so we're only gonna get 80% of his salary, and we're traveling with our humongous family. And so we need extra funding to be able to go. And like, that's the only way it would really be possible for us to do it. It's like, we have savings and stuff, but to be able to go and like live in another country this next school year, we would need some extra help. And so he was trying to figure things out. Well, about 10 days ago, it's been, just over 10 days, I think, he went to lunch with a friend who wrote one of his letters of recommendation for this program. And the friend had done this program as well several years ago. And he's like, you have to find a way to make this sabbatical work. He's like, it would just be like, one of the worst things you can do is to just stay where we live now for your sabbatical, take the year off and basically do nothing. And so he's like, you have to find a way to make it work. And so he kind of inspired my husband to like dig a little deeper and see like, how can we make a sabbatical abroad work? And so he texted some colleagues and other friends that he knows, and one of them texted him back, and he said that I can give you the money. Like, okay. He's like, yeah, I can give you the money, no problem. And this isn't small amounts of money, right? So he's like, wow, like he almost immediately just was like, here you go. Like, you can just have it. And he's a project manager for a nonprofit and stuff. And so this is what they do. They fund cool, interesting projects. And so it was like, okay. And he gave us a few options of where he could go, because the funding, his specific areas of funding are for the Caribbean and for Africa. And so it's like, oh, okay, the DR, like Caribbean, we can go there. And then it was like, when he gave the different options, me and my husband both knew that we needed to go to Africa. So that's where we're going. We're going to Benin, Africa for 6 months. And it's kind of crazy. So we're going basically, I think like October to April is our plan. And it all happened like within a 24-hour period. And then the last few weeks have been crazy. Even though our leaving date is still way in the future, like 6 months in the future, there was just so many things to be decided, because he had to write up an official proposal and say where we were going, what he was going to be working on. And so for this funding, again, it had to be for the Caribbean or Africa. So we chose to go to Africa. And it is like, I'm sure it's crazy. Okay, some days I'm like, well, this is fine. And other moments of that same day, I'm like, this is not fine. And it's like super anxiety inducing to take my whole family to Africa. I have been to Africa before. I went to Kenya when I was 17 with a humanitarian group for 2 weeks. And so I have been there, but again, like I said, it was different because I wasn't taking my whole family with me or anything like that. And everything was planned. You know, it's like, it was part of a Rotary program, if you're familiar with Rotary. And so they paid a big chunk of it and we paid a little bit. and then they plan everything and you just go. And we helped at a school for deaf children, and it was a really, really good experience and I really loved it, but I didn't really have to plan anything or be aware of too much besides here's your packing list, just bring these things, right? So this is a lot different. Having to worry about all the different things. And this country, Benin, is very, very small. It's in West Africa, and it's between, so you have Nigeria, Benin, Togo, and then Ghana as you go further west. So it's West Africa, and it's on that coastline in the Gulf of Guinea. And it's French speaking. I don't think I said that, but it's French speaking. And so my husband speaks a lot of languages. He studies Haiti, and Haiti speaks Haitian Creole, which is sort of French. Then the DR was Spanish, you know, and he speaks Spanish. And so he knows French, he just doesn't speak French enough. And so once we get there, he'll pick it up fast. I don't speak any French. Everything like that I know of another language is Spanish, but it's just a little bit. Like it's just very little Spanish. And so that part is a little bit daunting as well, but it fits into what he studies. There is a school of economics there, which is what, when he was researching stuff before the option even came up to have funding for Africa, this was one of the countries he was looking at because it has a school of economics there. And so he was trying to contact people there to do stuff with them. And so there's just lots of cool opportunities. It's going to be like a whole whirlwind. Like I said, every day is just, sometimes I'm like, this is gonna be so great and fun. And other days I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the dumbest thing we have ever done. And so that's where we're going. Like I said, we still have like 6 months. The nice part about this funding, since it's private funding, is we get to basically decide all the things. We don't just get a certain allotment every month or anything like that. And for the other one, it was gonna be more like a 9-month period. And this one we get to choose to have it just be 6 months. And that seemed a little bit more reasonable. And we're gonna go during our winter here, and it'll be very hot there, but at least we'll miss out on one winter here because our winters here can be pretty brutal. And so that's kind of what our plan is right now. And I wanted to tell you now because it's gonna affect how we do homeschool going forward and what we take with us to Africa. We're still gonna be doing homeschool there, but as I go through some of our curriculum picks and stuff in May, it's going to affect some of those things and what we end up doing during the summer here to try to make sure we're where we want to be with homeschool so that we're not bringing like 50 million bags with us to Africa. So that is our exciting news. Follow me for more content here as we get ready to go to Africa because there's a lot of things to do. And right now we're kind of just, we're in a little bit of a lull, I guess. We got a whole lot of information at the beginning, and my husband talked to a friend that had lived there. Well, a colleague, I guess. They didn't know each other until they found out that he had lived there. So a colleague that had lived there for 9 months and stuff. So we got a bunch of information from him. So it's just been a little information overload. Our heads are gonna explode most of the time. And now we're just a little bit like in a lull. We're still just gathering information, seeing what we need to do, what we need to be prepared for, and getting the rest of my kids' passports. We have 4, so me and my husband and 2 of our kids have passports, so the other 4 need passports. So we're getting that done, so that's ready, so we can worry about visas and stuff. But yeah, we're gonna take you all along with us to Africa and do homeschool there. And it's gonna be a little bit crazy, but I'm also excited about it. I know it'll be a really good learning experience for all of us. We'll go stronger as a family. My kids will learn so much. They'll understand. I hope they'll be more grateful for what they have here because it's gonna be very, very different. I've always been more grateful, like so incredibly grateful for what I've been given here in America when I go to other countries and live there for a certain amount of time and just come home and I'm like, man, I have so much. So it should be a really good experience, but it also is gonna be a very, very hard experience. So that's our exciting news. And I don't know what else to say to end this video. You know, do you give it a thumbs up? I don't know, or a thumbs crazy? I'm not really sure. But if you've been to Africa, and if you've been to Benin, that would be awesome to hear about. Put it down in the comments because I'd love to talk to you more about it, or if you know somebody that has. Because right now I'm just looking for all the resources to collect lots of information. So let me know all those things, and I will talk to you again very, very soon.